Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I am your host, Lonnie Jones. My wife Jackie and I moved to the city of Huntsville in 1986 for me to be a youth and family minister. I have been a minister since 1980. I have served in this community as a police chaplain assigned to a SWAT team since 1992, and I've been in private practice as a licensed professional counselor since 1998. I'm also an adventure educator and an avid outdoorsman. I dabble in rock climbing and I goof around with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our life has been full of many wonderful experiences and some just outright adventures. I used to write about those things in a little church bulletin article. So now instead of asking you to read those things, we're just going to talk about them in our podcast. And as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the facts. The facts lead to concepts, and the concepts lead to application. One caveat about the facts is, for the most part, we're going to tell you the facts just as they happened. But every now and then, we're going to tell you the way other people have told us they remember it happening with a little bit of embellishment. It's all good, clean fun and for educational purposes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy Keeping Up with Jones. Faulkner University announces a 60% tuition discount for members of the Church of Christ. Now, there are some guidelines. This 60% tuition reduction is applicable to adult undergraduate Bible degrees or graduate Bible degrees from the Curley Graduate School of Theology in the VP Black College of Biblical Studies. You must satisfy all admission requirements and maintain satisfactory academic progress. You must remain continuously enrolled, including summers, until the completion of the degree. You must provide a letter from an elder or minister, preferably on church letterhead, verifying that you're an active member of a Church of Christ congregation prior to your initial enrollment. This offer applies to adult undergraduate degrees such as biblical studies, youth and family ministry tracks, and it also includes graduate degrees. Those are the Master of Arts in Biblical Studies, the Master of Arts in Family Life Ministry, or a Master of Theology, and it also applies to the PhD in Biblical Studies. For undergraduate inquiries, please contact Adult Enrollment, 334-386-7140, 334-386-7140, or Adult Enrollment at Faulkner.edu. That is Adult Enrollment at Faulkner.edu. For graduate inquiries, please call 334-386-7539, 334-386-7539. Graduate enrollment at Faulkner.edu. That is graduate enrollment at Faulkner.edu. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Those little hens on the window were no doubt annoying to the lady trying to clean the window, but I thought they were adorable. Of course, I might find adorable in odd things. I'll get back to the window cleaner in a minute. When I first started my private practice, I did some contract work at the Davis Clinic. And my duties at the Davis Clinic not only involved being a therapist, but also the bouncer. I was basically the only male who worked in the clinic. And when people would come in and they would be upset, or they would give somebody a problem in the back, whether it was with one of the social workers or whether they were upset with Dr. Z, or even in paying their bill at the counter, when somebody acted up, I would get called upon, I guess, as the only male to come out and deal with it. The director of the clinic, Mary Elizabeth Marr, once remarked and said that my contract therapy rate was such that I was the highest paid heavy lifter in the city. Well, I was doing that other role. I was sitting at the reception desk because we had a guy in the lobby, and he was irate. He was not really being dangerous. He was just being loud, and he was misbehaving in the lobby. And I came out and I sat behind the desk so I could look at him through the window. And basically just my presence solved the problem. I like to think that I used the force, or maybe the threat thereof, to modulate his behavior. Anyway, after he began to calm down, he began to behave. He finally was seen by the doctor. He finished his appointment and he left the clinic. And I was just going to stay in the lobby to make sure he didn't come back in with something else. Well, there was another lady in the lobby, and she was with this chubby-cheeked little girl who had these small, spiky bundles arranged all over her head. She was in a pink lacy dress, and she was doing what small children do. She was getting into everything. She was stacking the books and moving the magazines and trying to topple the chairs over. And finally, Mom got tired of it and very sternly told her she needed to sit down and to behave. And this precious little cocoa-colored cream-skinned toddler never even looked at her mom. She just held her hand out and showed her mom the palm of her hand and said, "Talk to the white girl." And then she rotated her little hand so that that little chubby wrist exposed the backside of her hand. And she said, "Because the black girl ain't listening." I nearly laughed out loud. I had to duck behind the partition of the reception area and hide my face. Oh, I thought it was hilarious. Full disclosure, had this been my daughter, I'd have duct taped her and put her in the closet. But she wasn't mine, and I thought it was as cute as it was funny. Now, the other little pair of hands belonged to a little girl, and she was helping her mom wash windows. And when I say helping her, those are in quotes. She was a tiny little thing and probably not even 2 years old. I was doing a workshop, and I had met this group at Gaslight Alley. This is over in the Stovehouse complex, where we have all those old brick buildings, and they've turned them into venues for different things. And we were in this conference room, medium-sized conference room, that had these roll-down garage-type doors. And I was there teaching about some conflict resolution and some mental health stuff. And the good folks from Ozark City Schools had taken a break. And so I was just watching the scenes and watching the people pass by in what they call Gaslight Alley. I'm not sure where this little store gets its name. The name of this little store, and I can only assume it's a bakery, but it's called Cutes and Cakes. And I'm not sure where that comes from, but the cuteness was all wrapped up in this little girl who was helping, quote unquote, helping her mom wash the windows. Obviously, the people walking around the planet below doorknob height and under the age of 3 don't really get the whole clean window thing. They see windows as those large, expansive, clear things that you put your hands against so you can press your sticky face against it and kiss your reflection. Mom would make a pass, and her little helper would place her hands on the window and inspect, thus causing the window to fail inspection if anybody else looked at it. But apparently this little girl thought every time she pressed her face and her fingers up against the window, she was helping Mom out. I could not help but be amused. Finally, mom got the little girl a piece of paper. She got her paper towel, and then the little girl began to smudge less. Well, I was standing here at the window watching this scene unfold and even making some running commentary on it. And one of the educators in the workshop began to watch our little window cleaner with me. Now, she was doing her best to do her best. Mom was being patient as Mom could be. And the guy from Ozark just suddenly walked outside to see them. He knelt and he said something to the mom, and then he addressed the little girl, and he opened his hand and he revealed a prize for his little helper. Now, most people would say he would have revealed a surprise, but my daughter always called them prizes, not surprises. When I would come in from work and she would want to know did I bring her anything, she would ask, "Did you bring me a prize?" Well, the prize was delivered, and he proudly walked back in after his good deed. And I made the observation, hey, I think you did a good thing by rewarding this little girl for wanting to help her mom. But I'm not sure putting chocolate into the hands of a non-union, not even an apprentice or journeyman window washer on a 95-degree morning is the thing that mom was hoping she'd get to help you contribute to the rest of her day. I'm not saying you shouldn't have done it, but I'm saying you might should have thought about it before you did it. Were you really trying to help her out, or were you trying to increase the level of our entertainment? Yes. Yes, this guy actually walked out in the 95-degree heat, and he gave chocolate to little tiny Miss Smudge Fingers. I'm convinced that mom appreciated the intent of his gesture, but I'm not sure she necessarily appreciated the gesture in and of itself. We do sometimes, with the best intentions, have a tendency to make bigger messes when we interfere unsolicited into the other people's messes. There may be times when I'm required to step in, and most of the time I think it is best to be invited, or at a minimum ask folks if I can help before I do. I humorously, well, I think it's humorous, insert myself into conversations on Facebook. I've recently been told by a younger person that this exact behavior is what the younger generation refers to as trolling. You see, my witticisms don't contribute. I'm trying to be funny about a topic I find amusing or annoying. And when I add my witticisms to these things, they often distract, anger, they inflame, and they engender harsh derogatory blowback from the folks who love snakes and use phrases like best admired from a distance. These folks who are serious about a flat earth believe Bigfoot is real and the moon landing was fake, and they think socialism works. Now, I don't mean to offend or disenfranchise anybody. Those of you who believe in the Nephilim, the Anastasia, or ancient alien reptilian shapeshifter, I don't mean to disenfranchise that crowd, but one has to limit what one does in a target-rich environment. I've come to find out if they are convinced enough to post it, they will not be convinced otherwise by anything that I post. And I've learned that not only do they not share my worldview, but are intolerant of my sense of humor. I am not helping. And even if I really, really thought that levity, attempts at humor would help, I'm not helping. It just turns out I'm smudging things up and putting chocolate in the hands of toddlers. I wonder how many times our actual good intentions have been both unhelpful and unappreciated. I wonder how many times it would have just been better to ask someone, hey, what do you need? And be okay if someone said, I don't need your help right now, or it would be helpful if you just left me alone. I'm not saying there's never a time for intervention. I'm not saying there's never a time where we take an initiative and we do something uncomfortable or awkward. But oftentimes what we think of as intervention is just intrusion. The little girl didn't think her mom was doing anything wrong. The little girl just wanted to help her mom. The guy with the chocolate bars didn't consider how adding melting chocolate to the situation would not only keep the little girl from helping out, but actually allow her to unlock a new level of messy. I believe in helping God, quote unquote. I believe in doing my part, being submissive to the answers that I think I get from prayer. I should not pray for a better relationship with anybody and be unwilling to start with myself. I should not pray for another person to repent unless I already have forgiveness in my heart before they ask. I should not be asking for any change that I'm unwilling to participate in But at the same time, I think it's very important to realize and recognize that in some cases, God doesn't need my help. And when I try to do God's part rather than just my part, I just smudge things up. I'm not sure that I can talk about this and spell it out precisely. I realize that I'm being a bit vague or nebulous or overly general. But in short, I should be content in doing the human stuff and let God do the divine. I'll do the physical and let God do the metaphysical. My job, when I'm being guided, quote unquote, is submission, it's patience, it's forbearance, it's repentance, it's forgiveness, it's love, and it's service. That's in my jurisdiction. Those are the things I can manage, control, and handle. A lot of the situations that I'm worried about and a lot of the things that I want God to be involved in, I can't clean the whole thing up. I just have to do what I can and initiate good. And my attempts at good are, at best, they're imperfect. God's part is different. And God's part is so different that I'm uncomfortable speaking on his behalf. He's infinite and I'm finite. He's divine and I'm human. And at the risk of sounding like I'm speaking on his behalf, God will do, not do, judge, forgive, reconcile, punish, or simply act according to his nature. And his nature is different. His nature is pure and holy and just and omniscient. God's going to act according to his nature and not according to the expectations of human nature. The prophet Isaiah would ask, who is able to advise the Spirit of the Lord? Who knows enough to give him advice or to teach him? And I'll add or paraphrase, and who can show him how to do stuff better? Who has known the mind of the Lord that you think he needs your help? I'm free. I have absolute, unlimited ability to tell God what I want. I have unlimited ability to explain to God what I think I need. There's even a passage in Scripture that says I have help with my prayers, that when I really don't know how to ask, it gets asked in a way that God understands, and that's the work of the Spirit. But even though I can tell God what I want and explain to God what I need, in the end, I need to learn to submit to what he says when it comes to cleaning up the windows of my life. And regardless of how I perceive that answer, and regardless of how close I am to the situation, and regardless of whether or not I want to have my fingerprints all over it, my response can't be, no, Lord, you don't understand. Let me help you with that. Let me put my hands on it, and I'll get to it just as soon as I finish this candy bar. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.